Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Unquestionably Raw. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to be talking the Milwaukee Bucks and the 2016-2017 NBA Season Preview. Our special guest this evening joining the panel is none other than Dakota Schmidt, the editor-in-chief of Ridiculous Upside and a huge Milwaukee Bucks fan. We've got DJ Gonzo Star, Lance Roberson, and we've got Matt and myself. So we're going to jump right into the first question. And Dakota, I'm going to go to you, man. So looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, just kind of looking at their depth chart, let's talk starters versus the bench and just kind of go player by player and just what you kind of expect out of them this season.
The starting lineup thing is kind of weird because right now I'm looking at Roto World starting five. They have Dellavedova starting point guard, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Jabari, and Greg Monroe. Before last season ended, Jason Kidd was actually talking about moving Giannis to point guard, which would mean that we're probably going to have somebody else in the wing, but in regards to the Roto World depth chart that I gave, I do kind of like it, even though I'm not sure what to say about Dellavedova.
Okay. Based on kind of last season, they played Giannis at the point. He is, basically a small forward, so to speak. With Dellavedova, he can actually guard, of course, the opposing team's point guard. We saw what he did in the playoffs 2 years ago. Not so much this past season, but I think he's an upgrade, in my opinion, over Michael Carter-Williams for sure. But I want to go to Gonzo and hear his opinion on what you think of the Bucks, either their starting lineup, some of their bench players. What do you think, Gonzo?
Me personally, after seeing the second half last year, I think it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he would probably suit better playing the point guard position. First of all, he'll be a mismatch nightmare. There's not too many point guards that will probably be able to stick him in the NBA. He can play defense probably against most point guards. But I'm gonna tell you something that's kind of impressive though. We've been talking about. Last year we talked about, year before that, talking about Milwaukee. And Milwaukee upgraded the shooting a little bit. They got Dellavedova, good three-point shooter, Steve Novak, Jason Terry, Mirza Teletovic. Like, they got guys who can shoot. And then another thing that really kind of impressed me too, that kind of made me think that they might trade Greg Monroe by the deadline and Michael Carter-Williams, is that they went out and got a decent shooting guard in Malcolm Brogdon, and he's a really good defender as well.
Yeah.
And Tom Maker. What he's shown in Summer League, he can be just 70% of what he was in Summer League. I mean, he played pretty decent defense. He was rebounding. He can hit the jump shot. I think he might actually be an upgrade from Greg Monroe. I think what really hurt Milwaukee last year is that they lost Zaza. I think Zaza played a really, really big role on their defense the year before last. Like, they actually played a really, really, really good series against the Bulls. I actually thought they had a chance to win that series. And Zaza's defense kind of, kept them in the hunt. I think when they got Greg Monroe, he was very bad on rotations. So they upgraded the shooting. They got a big guy who can shoot and possibly defend. I'm impressed with the moves. Honestly, I can see him sneaking into the playoffs. Not even sneaking. I can see him walking into the playoffs.
But the thing about Thon Maker is, even though he was impressive, during Summer League against Summer League players, he is probably the least experienced player in the NBA, since he just played against high school talent, and even though he's a big 6'11", I think he's 7'1", center. He still needs to put more mass on and just gain a bunch of experience, because, like I said, he just played against high school players, since he's 19-year-old high school graduate. He is 19, by the way.
He's not 28.
He's not 28, but I think we're probably going to have to wait at least one more season after this upcoming season to really see Thon Maker make a big-time starter kind of impact, because I think he has a lot of the skills that you need to work on just to become more experienced. But in regards to your talk about shooting, I definitely agree. I like what the Bucks did during the offseason. Brandon Deli, who's a pretty standout shooter. Teletovic, Mirza Teletovic, that's the dude's name.
The Suns.
Malcolm Brogdon, who was a 40% three-point shooter in Virginia, a vet in Jason Terry, one of Jake Kidd's old buddies. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on what the Bucks brought in terms of shooting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Lance, what do you think, man?
All right, so I'm gonna piggyback. I think the 3-point percentage of last year is gonna really put things in perspective. They were 30th in 3-pointers made, 23rd in percentage, and also 30th in attempted 3-pointers. So picking up Teletovic, Terry, also Deli. I mean, we'll see what Deli is without LeBron, but still, like, just those 3 or 4 with the shooting the threes will make a difference. Because you can have all the athleticism in the world, but I mean, you're gonna have to make shots at some point. You know, I mean, they're not gonna let you get to the lane every single time. What interests me is if they are seriously gonna go with the Greek Freak at point guard for like more than just a couple like stretches in the game. I want to see if they do it for like a half or maybe a whole game. That's what really intrigues me. And Monroe, like, what are they going to do with him? Because I was looking up stats, and like he had the most win shares on the team, but at one point he was on the trading block for the season. So I don't know if they really value him. You know,
neither does the rest of the league, though. 'Cause nobody's winning it.
Like Greg Monroe is a good basketball player, but he's not a good Milwaukee Buck, because the team in the second half, the team started to do really good when Greg Monroe was the lead scorer in the second unit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long he'll want to do that this season, but I think he can be good in that role until he demands a trade because he's Greg Monroe and he thinks he's better than being a bench player.
He just doesn't make sense on the team. Like, seriously, if the Knicks would have got him, that would have made a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It would have made a lot more sense to him being on a super athletic Bucks team.
Yeah. And before we going off of Lance's and Gonzo's point about shooting, especially Lance's point about Giannis, the one thing I really want to see is either or both Jabari, Parker, Giannis, and Antetokounmpo becoming more consistent in developing more of a consistent perimeter jumper.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Giannis or Jabari 3 attempts per game, 35%, at least that, like a bare minimum, I think the Bucks have a lot more potential than what I see right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Matt?
I actually really like their depth now. I mean, and we haven't even talked about guys like Rashad Vaughn, who has a lot of potential. He has a potential to be a good shooter, good defensive player. Greg Monroe, like everybody said, he's kind of like the guy. He's the odd fit. Like, and of course, Michael Carter Williams. What are they going to do with him? Potentially, he's a guy who could play really good defense for him, make plays off the dribble and stuff. But I don't know. He's another one that doesn't seem to fit.
Because I think that in the NBA, MCW's best role is like a 20-25 minutes per game guy where he, can facilitate a little bit and, can play D. But that's kind of what Dellavedova does.
Exactly. And Dellavedova is a much better shooter.
Yeah. And I think this season, because like we've been talking about how Giannis is going to facilitate Delhi, MCW, and even Gonzo brought up Malcolm Brogdon earlier, who's a pretty good passer in himself. He was very good averaging. I can kind of see the Bucks having like a platoon of facilitators that they're going to rotate around over the course of the season.
Absolutely. I think Jabari Parker is going to be the key. I think this year, him being fully healthy, after coming back, of course, last year off of injury, I think he's going to be a key. I think if Greg Monroe can at least become a capable post defender, he doesn't have to be great, just capable post defender. I think that's going to help them, because losing Zaza Pachulia 2 seasons ago, that really hurt. The leadership of Jared Dudley really hurt. So now it's on Jabari Parker, it's on Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Mira Teletovic, those guys to kind of step in, and of course Jason Terry as the voices in that locker room to set the tone as the season goes. Now with Rashad Vaughn, Matt, you mentioned this is a make or break season, because Malcolm Brogdon's right on his tail, because Vaughn didn't have the greatest summer league, from what I saw. So it's really gonna be a telltale year for him. Now with Michael Carter Williams, I wasn't a fan of him personally when he was in Philadelphia. I wasn't a fan in Milwaukee. Just too inconsistent. He can pass, he can get in the lane, but if you can't shoot a jumper from the outside, you're not going to make the defense, stay honest against you. And he is long, and he's, able to be athletic, but defensively, Dellavedova, that's his wheelhouse. So what is there really a need for Michael Carter Williams to play 30 minutes a game? Like you said, Dakota, that 20-25 minute range is about where he's going to be.
Yeah, and especially if Giannis plays a lot of point guard and can show himself to be a solid, facilitator in, a long stretch of time, Delhi could still get some work as a smaller two guard, as a smaller shooting guard, which is something you can't say about MCW.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, leading into, what do you basically the Bucks underachieved last season? Of course, they missed the playoffs. They had a really down season from what everybody predicted. I had them making the playoffs at, basically previewing the season. Basically, are they going to end up in the same boat this year, missing the playoffs? Or are they going to be able to surprise a lot of people in the Eastern Conference and kind of make some noise? What do you think, Dakota?
I think that the Bucks definitely have a shot at, making the playoffs. Just from what we saw in the second half of the season, once Jason Kidd discovered, hey, building a team around the trio of Middleton, Giannis, Jabari, that can really work. And we talked about some of the additions that they made, some of the nice role players that they brought in, and with another year of development, especially for Jabari and Giannis, I can definitely see the Bucks making it back to the playoffs this season.
Okay. What do you think, Gonzo?
I definitely see them as a playoff team. Like, they're one of those teams that kind of like secretly improved. Like, you don't look at them because they're Milwaukee, but they kind of improved a lot better than a lot of teams. They certainly improved on paper. They look better than the Bulls. I mean, like I said, there's only 3 teams I really think.
Is that much of a compliment right now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The 3 teams I think that improved the most in the East, and it was, Cleveland. We already knew Cleveland was going to be at the top. I think it's Indiana, and I thought it was the Knicks. Boston, everybody, when they grabbed Al Horford, everybody assumed that Boston's up there now. Like, I don't see Al Horford as like this big piece that's really going to make them that much better. I just don't see it. I actually think Milwaukee looks better on paper than Boston.
Oh, no. Wow. I'm a huge Bucks fan, but Brad Stevens plus the roster that they already had plus Al Horford, I love the Bucks. In my biased heart, I love what you're saying, Gonzo, but I can't agree with you on that.
He's already better than Sullinger, so I mean, oof.
Well, what do you think, Lance?
As far as like, what are the Bucks going to do this season?
Yeah, basically.
I honestly thought they were going to step it up last year because I mean, them doing what they did last year in the playoffs was kind of impressive to me. So I thought they were going to build on that. So I thought they were going to end up being like top 4 in the East, top 5, and it really surprised the crap out of me, honestly, that they dropped so low. But I think with these acquisitions, I think they at least get 45, 46 games.
Okay.
Wins, I should say. I'm sorry.
Okay. What do you think, Matt?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. He's muted. Matt, your mic went out. I'll roll back to you. I think if you look at the Central Division, of course, you got the Cavaliers, you've got the Pacers, and you've got the Pistons, all most likely going to make the playoffs. I mean, maybe you could look at the Pacers as maybe not being a playoff team, but definitely the Cavaliers and the Pistons. Yeah. You got the Bulls there with Rondo and Wade, kind of carrying that team, and then you've got Milwaukee. I could put them over Chicago possibly. I don't see how Milwaukee's going to be able to sneak in the playoffs this season. I think they really set themselves up for next season, but they've got to figure out Greg Monroe. They've got to figure out Michael Carter-Williams, and they've got to get some pieces for them to kind of build for the future. Now, that doesn't mean they can't surprise people because their combination of lineups, I mean, you can throw out there pretty much your whole starting 5 would be, 6'9" and above. That's unheard of on most teams. And so it'll be really interesting to kind of see how that division shakes out, to say the least. And so basically, until Matt's able to come back in, we'll roll through what do you guys see as 3 keys that will either make or break Milwaukee's season? What do you see as 3 keys to either make or break Dakota?
Number 1, like I mentioned before, Giannis and or Jabari improving as perimeter shooters or just shooters in general.
Okay.
Whatever the number 2 is the front court. Gonzo talked about Thon Maker, how he can make a big impact, and I think that's eventually going to happen later on. But in 2016-17, what's going to happen? Who's going to be the starting center on opening night for the Bucks? It's going to be Greg Monroe. Is it going to be John Henson? Is it going to be Miles Plumlee?
Yeah, oof.
I hope it's Henson. I really like Henson. And I think he deserves more minutes at what he's been getting over the course of his Bucks career. But and number 2 is last season bench scoring was a huge issue for the Bucks. They were one of the worst bench scoring teams in the NBA. And even though on paper the second unit additions look good, I want to see how those additions can mesh together. And, if Greg Monroe is going to be leader of that second unit, if MCW is going to be that, or somebody else steps up and becomes the leader of the bench unit, just like Jared Bayless was over the last 2 seasons before he left for Philly.
Okay. Matt, I'm going to go back to you. I'm going to let you chime in about if you think that they're going to make the playoffs or not, based on the Central Division, and then go ahead and answer your 3 keys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're good to go. I do definitely see them making the playoffs. I know there's some question marks. Greg Monroe. Michael Carter Williams, those guys. But I think this is definitely a playoff roster, barring a major injury to Giannis and Jabari. Three keys, obvious. One is obviously going to be, I think, still the number one thing with them. Athleticism, length. When it comes to defense, I think that's big for them. Continue the great defense that they're able to play. If Greg Monroe can't step up and defend, he doesn't want to be come off the bench and score. Leave him throw somebody out there. Who's going to defend. Go small if you have to. Two is definitely, I'd say, shooting, because we know, as Lance said, they basically were the worst shooting team in the NBA, and if you can't shoot the basketball, there's no floor spacing, and you're not going to be a very good team. I mean, look at all the teams that win; they make threes. So there's that. And then I think third is, I guess is really the development, I'd say, of Parker and Giannis. I think more so Parker. I really think if he can take another step forward this year and really become that all-star player that he's capable of playing, I think that's going to be huge for them.
Okay. Gonzo, what you got?
One of the things I think that will make this is the first. I think they have to go back to team defense. I think Milwaukee is one of those teams where their defense first, and if their defense is really good, they pretty much have a chance to win most of their games. So I want them to get back to that defense first attitude, and if that means leaving Greg Monroe on the bench. Honestly, at this point, I honestly see them trading him, especially for defensive reasons. He's kind of a liability. Probably get rid of him. Second, I'm going to piggyback off of what Matt said. He talked about the floor spacing. Are they going to have a good enough floor spacing to where they get the shooters open to knock down these shots and shot consistency as well, 3-point shot consistency? That's one of those things that could make or break their season. And I'm going to say rebounding. I think rebounding is kind of, a lot of people don't, I guess they value it, but it's kind of undervalued to me, in my opinion. Like, Golden State is an okay rebounding team, but I mean, they shoot so many threes. But a team like them, I think they really need rebounding. Like, John Henson is like, what I'm looking at right, he's like their best rebounder in his team. Like, I honestly can't say. Miles Plumlee might be all right, but Greg Monroe is not a great rebounder for his side. I mean, he's okay, so I want to say rebounding,
Okay. What you got, Lance?
So that's exactly what that was like the last point I was going to hit on, was definitely rebounding. Because like you said, especially with the Bucks, they're not making 3-point shots, but also last year they were 26 in team rebounding, so if you can't make the shot and you also can't get the rebound, I mean, that's just a loss of possession. Probably going to lead to a wide open fast break dunk off a long miss. But also, I think point guard play is very important this year, whether it be Giannis, Delly, or somehow MCW gets it together. And then I think most importantly, 3-point shooting. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but I mean, you need to get rebounds and make 3-point shots. So. It sounds simple, but I mean, sometimes basketball is simple.
Yep. Fundamentals. So rolling in, everybody pretty much touched on what I was going to kind of chime in and say. So I'm going to roll into question number 4. Does Milwaukee make a move with either Greg Monroe or Michael Carter Williams by the trade deadline? If so, which one do you think will go, or do you think both will go? Dakota.
I think both players should already be out of Milwaukee, but apparently nobody really wants them. Maybe, that can change once we get closer to February. And, some teams get desperate and the team sees Greg Monroe the way they can, have some instant points and look away from, his defensive issues and see MCW as maybe a solid bench defender, but I hope, as a Bucks fan, I hope that both Monroe and MCW are gone, because I really don't see them as fits for the future of the franchise. But I don't know what the 29 other NBA GMs think about either player.
Okay. What do you think, Gonzo?
I trade them both. I mean, like I said, Greg Monroe is a defensive liability for what they're trying to do. I think Carter Williams is I think he's a good defensive player, but he's not really a great pass. He's an okay passer. He's not a good enough passer. What I think they need with these shooters, I think they need a much better passer, and he can't throw a rock in the ocean. So I trade him too.
Okay, Lance.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, one of them, maybe two of them, but definitely one of them's going to be gone. And I think it's going to be Monroe more than Michael Carter-Williams because since Kid's a point guard, I think he still wants to to see if he can get him to that level that he thinks he can get him at. I really think it'll be Monroe before MCW.
Okay, Matt.
If you're a fan of the Bucks like Dakota, you would hopefully like to be able to move both realistically. I think realistically, I would say Carter Williams only because of his contract. He's still on that rookie deal. So you can get him for cheap, but if he turns out good, if not, it's expiring anyways. And we know how expiring contracts are valued in the NBA. So, and I believe his is up this year, I think. But even if it's not, I mean, he's making what, $2 million a season? So they can move him.
Okay.
I think they'd prefer to move Monroe, though.
Yeah, like I touched on earlier, what team is actually going to want him? He's a turnstile on defense. He doesn't rebound well for his size, like Gonzo touched on. He can score in the post, but what team is really going to utilize him, well? That's the question. With Michael Carter-Williams, he does have the size that he can still defend. He can get in the lane, although he can't shoot. I just hope that he does not find his way back to Philadelphia at any point. I do think that Monroe will end up being the guy that they try to move first before Michael Carter-Williams because Lance touched on a good point. Jason Kidd being a point guard will look to develop him in any way that he can before giving up on him. And then I think, actually, to be honest, Michael Carter-Williams can actually kind of basically dish a little bit better, in my opinion, than Dellavedova can on offense, although Dellavedova is the better shooter. So you got guys like Chris Middleton, out there on the perimeter. So Michael Carter-Williams works well with someone like Chris Middleton. It's just going to be a matter of can Michael Carter-Williams find himself this season and kind of go from there. So last question that we want to touch on. I want everybody to give me one bold prediction for the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Something that's a bold prediction. Dakota.
Chris Middleton is going to be an all-star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Chris Middleton is going to be an all-star. I've already said on Twitter that I think Chris Middleton is a better player than DeMar DeRozan. People call me crazy, but that's what I'm going to do. Chris Middleton is going to be an all-star with Giannis and Jabari following in future years.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I can respect that.
What do you think, Gonzo? What's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction, I just looked at Detroit's roster. They will most definitely finish with a better record than the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons have not made any major upgrades to this roster. Like, this roster looks weak. Like,
But Boban.
Yeah, he's okay.
You have baby. We all love Boban.
You got Reggie Jackson, who's inconsistent. He's good, but he's inconsistent. Drummond can't shoot free throws. He's only getting you 9 boards a game. Tobias Harris, he's okay. Ish Smith, he's an inconsistent shooter. The Morris twin, he's okay, but he can't rebound. He can just shoot. Like,
they don't even name. He's a Morris twin.
Yeah, Marcus. Yeah, Marcus. I'm just looking like on paper, the Bucks look way better than the Pistons.
Okay.
Easily. So they'll finish better than Detroit easily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you think, Lance?
All right. So I know I said they're going to make the playoffs, but this is a bold prediction, and it's exactly on the opposite side of the spectrum. I think they're going to trade. For my bold prediction, it'll be Greg Monroe, Michael Carter-Williams getting traded and Kidd getting fired all in the same season.
Wow.
That's a
Okay.
bold prediction right there.
That's
What you
bold.
think, Matt?
I've actually kind of got two. I think Parker and Giannis both make the All-Star team this year, and I think the Bucks finish fourth in the East.
Ooh,
I
fourth.
think they
Okay.
finish fourth. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say for my bold prediction, I don't even know that it's that bold, but I think Giannis could actually make the All-Star team this year. Basically his athleticism, and especially if he can basically kind of play that point guard role, I think he can slide in. Because basically looking at the point guards, if you want to look at him, how they can fit him in a guard slot. I mean, you've had guys in the past like Jeff Teague make it, and I'm sorry, I put Giannis in over Jeff Teague all day. So I wouldn't really say a bold prediction. And then to kind of piggyback off of Lance, I could see it going the other way if they don't achieve well enough to the new ownership standards. I could see Jason Kidd on the outs because he does have a history of not kind of cooperating, so to speak, with what management wants, even though that was in Brooklyn. But we'll see. It can go either way, and it's going to be definitely a fun and exciting season. So that pretty much wraps it up for our Milwaukee Bucks preview. And Dakota, I want to go to you real quick, and I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, and just kind of some things that you're working on for people to look out for.
On the Ridiculous Upside Twitter is Ridic, RIDIC Upside, and my personal Twitter is at Dakota, DAKOTA _Schmidt, SCHMIDT. On Ridiculous Upside, I am already looking at some 2017 NBA prospects. The class is going to be absolutely loaded for next season. And right now I am looking at a solid sophomore guard named Shake Milton. So that piece is probably going to be up tomorrow on Ridiculous Upside.
Okay, great. So everybody that's watching this live, and then who's going to check it out on the replay, go check out Ridiculous Upside. And also add Dakota on Twitter. Go follow him. He definitely brings a lot of quality pieces, or writes a lot of quality pieces, and definitely can follow him for all your Milwaukee Bucks news and throughout the season. So I also want to let everybody know they can check us out, of course, on iTunes, under podcast, Unquestionably Raw. You can download it within 24 hours of the show viewing, so it will hopefully be up by the morning. And then we want to highlight our next preview show, which is going to be Friday. It's the Miami Heat. We're looking at a 9 p.m. Eastern start for that one. So please tune in for that. Hope everybody enjoyed our Bucks preview.